Greetings, my name is Michael Stavrakakis and I'm the singer of Doomocracy from Greece. Welcome to a brand new episode of Addicted to Lists. Today's episode is about thrash metal, a genre which I love almost equally as doom metal and progressive metal. Most people find it challenging to define the fine line between speed metal and thrash metal. It was the same for me when I was compiling the list of my favorite power metal albums. I had a bit of a hard time defining what I wanted to feature on this list, so in the end I left out the majority of US power metal bands to be featured on another episode of Addicted to Lists. There is no harm in including bands from both genres, but for example, some people don't consider Megadeth or even Metallica a thrash metal band. To me, thrash metal began with the band Venom, and then of course with bands like Metallica, Slayer and Megadeth. I must confess that I enjoy more the mid-tempo songs of thrash metal, such as Reincarnation by Sodom, Dead Skin Mask by Slayer or Escape from Within by Flotsam and Jetsam. Also, I prefer the more technical side of thrash metal, with bands like Agent Steel, Flotsam and Jetsam, Hexenhaus, Coroner, and many more. Today's guests are Yücel Erol, owner of Baden Metal page, Holger Andrae, writer for Power Metal Online magazine, Alex Fähnrich, editor of Legacy magazine, Albert Bell, bassist of Maltese doom metal band Forsaken, Andreas Makela, guitarist of Swedish power metal band Evil Conspiracy, and heavy metal enthusiast and fan Pablo Sideropoulos. So if this sounds like a good idea to you, let's begin. Here are my 10 favorite thrash metal albums. Like I said in the beginning, most people don't consider Megadeth or even Metallica a thrash metal band, but I know I do, and I love all early Megadeth albums. Rust in Peace is my favorite album of the band, and one of my favorite albums in heavy metal as well. This album features one of the best lineups in heavy metal history. We have of course Dave Mustaine on guitar and vocals, David Ellefson on bass, Nick Menza on drums, and Marty Friedman on guitar. Incredible lineup. I was very lucky to see Megadeth live with this lineup at Rockwave Festival in Athens, Greece in 1997. It remains to this day one of the favorite shows that I have seen. And also on that day we got to see a mind-blowing set by Grip INC. They had just released Nemesis, another one of my favorite thrash metal albums. And although they weren't the headliners of the day, they played for more than 1.5 hours, playing the whole Nemesis and Power of Inner Strength albums. An absolutely fantastic live experience. Back to Rust in Peace though. This album is perfect in all senses. Production, songwriting, album cover, amazing songs like Holy Wars, Take No Prisoners, Hunger 18 and Tornado of Souls. Breathtaking solos by Martin Friedman and Dave Mustaine. If someone told me that they want to start listening to heavy metal and they want some suggestions on where to start, I would definitely suggest Metallica and the first 4 albums of the band, especially Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets and Injustice for All. I usually have a hard time choosing my favorite Metallica album, but for the last few years my choice has always been Injustice for All. Although this album sadly doesn't feature Cliff Barton on bass, it has some of my favorite compositions from the band, like the title song Injustice for All, like the song One, Harvester of Sorrow, Shorter Straw, Darius Eve. So many great songs on this album. Much has been said about the production of Injustice for All, where you can't really hear any bass. And although I love those versions on YouTube with the restored bass of Jason Newsted, I must say that this production has really grown on me and that I really love it. I remember those MTV days in the early 90s when I was waiting in front of the TV to watch the video clip of One, a song that I consider one of my favorites and a song that literally got me into heavy metal. I love the solos on the album, I love the drumming by Lars Ulrich, And of course I love the riffs and I love James Hetfield's voice. Flotsam and Jetsam is one of my favorite speed thrash metal bands, and Eric A.K. is my favorite singer of those genres. Although Doomsday for the Deceiver is also a phenomenal album, I chose No Place for Disgrace because it was the first I heard from the band, and you usually stick with your first choice. I love all the songs of No Place for Disgrace, but especially the title track, the incredible Any Terror with the amazing opening riff, and I think I Live You Die and Escape From Within are two anthems of speed thrash metal. I was very lucky because me and my bandmates from Doomocracy got to share the stage with Flotsam and Jetsam a few years ago at Hanyarok Festival. It was also the first and only time that I saw Flotsam and Jetsam live, and they kicked my ass. Moving on now to the list of my distinguished guests. First, Yücel Erol, a great metal supporter and owner of Baden Metal page. Here is Yücel Erol's favorite thrash metal albums list. I love The Legacy by Testament and Taking Over by Overkill. We have chosen different albums for Slayer and Sepultura, but that's fine. I love both albums that you suggest.
When I started to listen to metal music at all, I looked on hits in album info, special thanks list, band shirts, my favorite musicians were, and reviews. The way how I discovered Testament was the Murderforce Records logo on the back cover, and the info, it is produced by Alex Perialas, both known for Anthrax, Overkill and SOD. I started my Testament journey with The New Order and then Live at Company P before I get The Legacy. I read the review back then in German metal magazine Metal Hammer. It was album of the month. Compared to other thrash debut albums, this one was perfect. It is so intense, dynamic and raw. Like many debutants, Testament were hungry and passionate. No overthinking, also known as overkilling an album, and no overproducing. It's one of those perfect albums you can listen from start to finish without skipping a song. It is a furious masterpiece, but gives you here and then time with great riffing and few acoustic parts. If you listen to The Legacy correctly, you also recognize the great guitar playing by Alex Colney. When Alex plays guitar, you have those epic melodic passages woven in the thrash sound. Another bonus point is singer Jack Billy. I love his accentuation word by word. He has a very good feeling for it. An album that should not be missed in a thrash metal collection.
We move next to Andrae Holger, writer for Power Metal German web magazine. Andrae, who's been an editor for many years, is also addicted to lists, and he has a great list game that he plays with his friends.
We meet up with some friends over a weekend and we celebrate the best song of a certain year. Therefore, everyone included makes a list of his top 40 songs of that year. He sends this list to my wife, who then compiles a complete list with points, and we listen to all songs ranked. Always a pleasure weekend.
That's a great game indeed, and the thought behind this game is very similar to my idea of starting this channel, Addicted to Lists. My goal is to receive and compile more than 2,000 lists of favorite music, and then come up with a point system, like you do, to reach an extensive poll/ranking of favorite albums in my channel. Moving on to Alex Fähnrich, editor of German Legacy magazine. Alex is an experienced editor not just for Legacy magazine, but for other online magazines as well, like Oblivion for example. He's a very nice person whose opinion I trust, and I do seek his advice very often when I want a second thought about an album, or to ask him if he has some new albums to suggest. So here is the list of Alex Fähnrich's favorite thrash metal albums. know that Alex loves Flotsam and Jetsam, so I was curious why he did not include them in his list. I asked him about it and he replied that to him, Flotsam and Jetsam is a category of itself. Of course I agree, they are quite a unique band.
Bonded by Blood is the rawest and dirtiest album of all times. Paul Baloch was absolutely unique. In a way, the Ozzy Osbourne of thrash metal. Gary Hold's riffs on that album are all mean as fuck. Murder in the front row, the essence of what thrash is all about.
Moving on now to Albert Bell, the bassist of Maltese doom metal band Forsaken and Nomad Sun. Forsaken has been around for more than 30 years, having released 5 incredible albums and made themselves a cult name in the doom metal scene. Albert, besides being a great bass player, was also one of the organizers of Malta Doom Festival, one of the purest doom metal festivals taking place in Europe, which Doomocracy had the honor of being invited. Sadly, due to the COVID pandemic, this festival ceased to exist, like many other festivals. Albert has included some more speedy and evil metal albums in his thrash metal list. To be honest, the list that he has sent me is about his favorite speed thrash albums, so it makes sense that he includes bands like Venom and Celtic Frost. And like I said, for me speed and thrash metal started with Venom, so I agree. Moving on now to Andreas Makela, the guitarist of Swedish power metal band Evil Conspiracy. Evil Conspiracy has been around for more than 20 years, having released 3 albums, with the latest album, The Demon's Mark, being released in 2022. So here are Andreas Makela's favorite thrash metal albums. That is a great list, Andreas, and I must say that Forbidden Evil from Forbidden is also one of my favorite thrash metal albums. Moving on now to Pablo Sideropoulos, a great metal enthusiast who is also addicted to lists. Here are the favorite thrash metal albums by Pablo Sideropoulos. Another great list by Pavlos with albums that I really love. And as you may have noticed, Bonded by Blood by Exodus is already doing amazing in this list of favorite thrash metal albums. It is an amazing album, of course, and quite righteously deserves all kinds of recognition. So that was it. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Also, leave your lists in the comment section below and let me know what other lists you want me to feature on this channel. Until next time, stay safe and rock on.